now is Andrij Dobriansky. He's the Director of Communications and Media at the Ukrainian Congress Committee of America. Troubling is one way to categorize this meeting between Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong Un. Breaking any UN security code here, is that even in the thought process of a Vladimir Putin right now in this invasion?
It's clear that Mr. Putin is quite in the desperate state of his war. We've heard for many months now how Ukraine can't possibly outlast this war, how much more artillery Russia is using and missiles against Ukraine. Well, clearly that has a cost to Mr. Putin's artillery stocks, and that's why he's reaching out to these countries. We've seen how many countries have pledged support for Ukraine, how much most of the General Assembly at the United Nations has stood up for Ukraine and also given its military support in terms of weapons and materiel. But Mr. Putin doesn't have that many options, and so he's forced to turn to officially acknowledged state sponsors of terror like North Korea and ask them for artillery because, frankly, they are running out of artillery shells and missiles.
In the last 24 hours, there are reports Ukraine has launched more attacks in Crimea, the Russian-occupied region. What more are you hearing about that?
I think people were pretty bullish from the Ukrainian side at the beginning of the year that that isolating Crimea was a realistic goal. When people started being a little down on the pace of the counteroffensive, many people didn't know if that was going to happen. But we're right back where we were in the spring when people thought that isolating Crimea is a very realistic goal, and that'll completely change the military plan for the aggressor state against Ukraine. If that bridge is broken and Russia can't resupply over a land route to Crimea, the entire southern strategy of Russia is in tatters, which means that those partially occupied territories of Zaporizhzhia Oblast or the Kherson Oblast, which Russia still has a toehold in and officially annexed, there will be no way for Russia to be able to hold on to them by the end of the year if Crimea is isolated from the rest of the mainland.
Yeah, this is an important and significant point in the battle. Real quickly, before I run out of time, and I may have already, so my apologies to my producers, but something former Vice President Mike Pence said last night during our NewsNation town hall was that ending the war now would only benefit Vladimir Putin, that he would win. But he also said that President Biden hasn't done enough to convey to the American public and explain to Americans the reason the U.S. is involved, the reason the United States continues to send billions of dollars in aid. By and large, the U.S.'s role in this conflict, how would you assess that comment from the former vice president as it pertains to Ukraine?
I think it reflects a lot of voices within his own party. This is why we're not having a vote in Congress this week about the defense spending, because there are so many diverse voices within the Republican Party about whether they want to help Ukraine more, whether they want to pull out of Ukraine. And that's, blocking things here in the United States. But as far as what Ukraine wants, yes, Ukraine does want more weapon systems. Ukraine does want more support so that it doesn't have to suffer much longer than it has. But I agree with the former vice president. And that's a very good reason why all other candidates should visit Ukraine and see for themselves, like Governor Christie did, like Governor and former Vice President Pence did. Once you see for yourself, the case for helping Ukraine is that much more evident.
Andrij Dobriansky, always appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.